All right, well, how many of you guys are just excited that you made it through 2021? Anybody feel like that was just a crazy year? Oh, 2020. Oh, man, okay. Well, hey, let's start over again. You guys are, okay. How many of you guys are excited you just, like, made it through last year? That sounds better. Okay, cool. I was like, dude, I felt like last year was never going to end. Funny, okay, quick story. So, on New Year's Eve, I was watching the ball drop with my family. And we were just, like, so excited for the ball to drop and, like, for 2020 to be over. And then I kid you not, with 3 seconds left to go, the TV went out. And we like just slowly freaked out. We're like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? The world's ending. Like I thought we were gonna, okay, but the TV turned back on and we saw the ball drop. Anyways, I just thought that was kind of funny because what a way to end last year. So anyways, all right, that had nothing to do with, I just thought I'd share a little bit of my break with you because, you know, we're friends. So, okay, so seriously, what we're gonna do tonight, it's a little bit different. I didn't want to come back and just kind of dive right in, right? I didn't want to just jump headfirst in the deep end on like a new series. Instead, what I wanted to do was I actually wanted to start this year with vision. All right, so you see behind me tonight, we're calling it Vision Night. All right, and I'm going to ask you a question, and I promise I'm not trying to insult your intelligence, but just go with me on this. You guys know what vision is, right? I'm not talking about the Marvel character. I'm talking about like vision, right? Seriously, like by vision, we can see everything, right? Like if you were to take our eyesight away, then we couldn't see anything, right? Like we all know what vision is. You guys are smart. You're in high school, so we're out of high school if you're adults in the room. But vision is the reason that we can see things. Now that's really good if I have a nice juicy steak right in front of me, or if I've got a bowl of ice cream. If I can't see the difference between a bowl of ice cream and an onion, or an apple and an onion, then I'm going to be really disappointed, right? Like vision's going to, like, all right, I need vision to see what is in front of me. And that's important physically, but spiritually, vision is so important. Like the Bible talks about, like Scripture talks about vision. The book of Proverbs, Psalms, Ecclesiastes, even Jesus talked about vision and pursuit. And so what we're going to do tonight is, before we talk about anything else this year, we're going to talk about vision. What is our vision for you guys? Right? Sometimes I don't know if you feel like you're in this boat, but there's sometimes when I would go through middle school or high school or even after college, in college, there were times where I was like, God, I don't know what your plan or your purpose is for me. Right? Like I was looking for specific plans and specific purposes. And any time that I didn't know what those were, I always felt lost. I'm like, God, I feel like I don't have a vision for your future for me. And that would just spin me into, like, I felt like chaos, right? I just felt like anxiety. I felt depressed. I started questioning, like, God, why am I here? Like, all these things. And what happened was, what I came to realize was that sometimes if you've been around for the last couple of years, you've heard me say this, sometimes we get so focused on the specific vision, like the specific calling that God has on our life, that we lose sight of what he's called all of us to do and the vision that he's called us all to chase after. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to read from 2 Timothy 2:22. I'm just going to read one verse tonight. And this vision is the same thing that I've been talking about for the last year. All right, this last semester, this is what I've been talking about. This is what it is. This is what 2 Timothy 2:22 says. Paul is writing to Timothy. And Timothy is a young pastor. Some people think he was actually like 18. Some people think he was actually 18 when he became a pastor. So he was either your age or just a couple years older than you when this was written to him. And this is what Paul says to Timothy. He says this. He says, flee the evil desires of youth and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. I'm going to read that again. Flee the evil desires of youth and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. What do we want to do this year? What's our vision this year for you guys and as a youth group? Ultimately, this is what we want to do. We want to be people that pursue Jesus. We want to be people that pursue Jesus, because when Paul is like, and there's three things that kind of looks like, and I'm going to give them to you up front. They're up here on the screen, but there's three things in this passage, that in this verse, that we want to pull out and we can see about pursuing Jesus, the vision that we have for this year. All right, we want to be people that pursue Jesus. And people that pursue Jesus, they do it on purpose. Right? Like Paul says, flee the evil desires of youth and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace. Right? Flee the evil desires of youth. Like, do it on purpose. You don't just accidentally follow Jesus. Right? It's not something that you just kind of like wake up and you, like, if your eyes are still fuzzy and you accidentally run into the wall. Like, I don't know if that, maybe that's hypothetical for some of you. If not, you can laugh at me later. But seriously, like, when you wake up and you got like blurry eyes and you can't really see anything, like, and you accidentally stumble into something or you stub your toe, like, that's an accident. You don't mean to do that, but it just happens. Right? We don't accidentally just stumble into following and pursuing Jesus. It's an intentional action. It's on purpose. And that's the first thing we see. And this is his charge to Timothy. Flee the evil desires of youth and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace. And ultimately, righteousness, faith, love, and peace will lead us to grow in our relationship with God. Right? Like, when we pursue those things, our relationship with God is going to grow. And those are things that we can actually have control over. Right? We can say, I'm going to, on purpose, wake up, make the decision to follow Jesus today. I can make that decision. Right? I may not be able to control what happens to me, but I can control what I do. Right? That's what we can do. So when we pursue Jesus, we do it for our own growth. People who follow and pursue Jesus do it for their own growth. And the last thing we see here is we see that people who pursue Jesus, they do it with other people. Right? They do it with others. They don't follow Jesus alone. Right? Sometimes that's the biggest lie that the enemy tries to plant in our minds, that we're the only person that's struggling with what we're struggling with. We're the only person that's going through what we're going through. And that nobody understands the things that are in front of us. But here's what we know. Paul gives this advice and this wisdom to Timothy. He says, along with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. See, Paul was talking to an 18-year-old Timothy. And he knew that there were going to be times that Timothy felt alone. That Timothy felt like he was on an island all by himself. And he felt like he was the only person pursuing Jesus. But Paul was giving him encouragement and saying, hey, you're not the only one. Pursue Jesus with other people who are pursuing Jesus. Surround yourself with people who are like-minded, right? Maybe don't hang out with the people who are maybe a little more toxic. Don't let them speak into your life like the people who pursue Jesus do. Like, let them speak in your life before you let the toxic people speak into your life. Pursue Jesus with other people. All right, so people that pursue Jesus do it on purpose, they do it for their own growth, and they do it with other people. All right, so that's the encouragement we want to hear for this year. So this year, okay, so that's what the scripture says. Now we're going to bring it back and say, okay, as a youth group, what does it look like to pursue Jesus this year, this semester? Like, what are we going to do? Like, how are we going to pursue him individually and together? All right, so that's also on your sheets. I just wrote it all in there. Okay, so there's 4 big things. There's little things we're going to do throughout the semester. We're going to have fun. We're going to do cool events, that kind of stuff. But there's 4 really big ways that I think we can pursue Jesus this semester and this summer. So the first one is that we want to be people of prayer. All right, we want to be people of prayer. So last year, I don't know if you guys remember last school year, kind of before COVID hit, what would happen is I would actually open up this room for about an hour before youth group started. And if you just want to come in here, there's going to be worship music playing. There's going to be a chance for you to come in here, maybe read some scripture, spend some time in prayer, and just kind of like be alone before God. Right? So we're just going to open this space up. There's not going to be any games. There's not going to be anything fun happening in here, right? It's until 6:30. So from 5:30 to about 6:15, 6:30, this room's going to be open. So if you're just heavy and you feel like, man, I just had a rough week, or like, man, I got a crazy week ahead of me, like, I just need to refocus. I need to recapture the vision of pursuing Jesus. You can do that in here at 5:30. Okay, I'd encourage you to do it like on your own throughout the week and all that kind of stuff, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to do that at 5:30 on Sunday nights. And I'm not going to take attendance. It's not like youth group starts at 5:30. It's like you just want to come at 5:30. You can be here 5:30, 5:45, 6 o'clock. You can be in here for 5 minutes. You can be in here for 15 minutes. There's not going to be like a time limit. You just show up. Just show up. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing is this. We're going to pursue Jesus through small groups. Right? You guys are already doing that, but that's kind of the purpose of your small groups. Right? It's a bunch of people together that are pursuing Jesus and doing life together, talking about life, laughing together, praying together, maybe crying together. Right? Maybe giving each other like a COVID hug. I don't know what that is. Giving each other like being there for each other, texting each other throughout the week, just saying, "Hey, I'm here for you. Hey, how are you doing with your family? Hey, you had a test on Tuesday. Hope it went well." Like those kinds of encouragement. That's what those small groups are for. It's for your guys' encouragement and for your growth. All right, this next, so we got prayer, we have small groups. The third thing is going to be something that's a little bit different. I don't think we've ever done this before. But it's this thing that we're going to do called Small Group Saturdays. All right, Small Group Saturdays. What that is one Saturday during this semester, you and your small group are going to hang out on a Saturday morning from like 9 to noon. And for an hour, maybe two, you're going to go serve at like Fellowship Missions or maybe Combined Community Service or the Salvation Army. One of our local missions partners. You're going to go out, you're going to get to serve other people. And then after you're done with that, go out to eat with your small group. Just hang out or go do something fun, right? Maybe go throw a cornhole or a frisbee or I don't know, like whatever you and your small group decide. Like that's for you guys to decide. All right, and you're actually going to talk about that a little later tonight in your small groups. But that's a new opportunity. I think it's going to be a good time. Your small group leaders and I, we've been talking about this for a little bit, so we're excited to lay that out this semester. So the fourth thing that we get to do is our summer opportunities. And there's two things specifically that we're doing as a youth group this summer. The first thing is Momentum Youth Conference. So Momentum Youth Conference, we were supposed to go last year, but last year was last year. So we weren't able to go last year. So we're looking forward to going this year. So we're going to have some more information on that a couple weeks from now. But then the last thing that we're going to do is Camp with an Impact. All right, so Camp with an Impact. How many of you guys actually went to camp as like a kid, as a counselor, or an intern, or whatever? So we're going to have those opportunities open up potentially in February. All right, so in February, we're going to have sign-ups. If you guys want to be interns, where you kind of do some more like heavy labor stuff, or if you want to be actual counselors, like those, we're going to have sign-ups for those a little later as well. So there's a couple different things. Those are a couple different ways that as a youth group this year, like that's the vision. We want to pursue Jesus, and how we're going to do it is we're going to do it through prayer. We're going to do it through small groups. We're going to do it through small group Saturdays, and we're going to do it through our summer opportunities. So those are just a few things that we have to kind of look forward to this semester and this year, all right? So that's just kind of like the business stuff. That's just kind of like the, hey, high level, what do we expect, right? It's just like Netflix kind of like teasing you or whatever, like, hey, we're going to drop this thing on, like we're going to drop Stranger Things later this year. Like when they drop, it's like a teaser, all right? It's a teaser. So, but at the heart of it, we want to be people that pursue Jesus. And those are the specific ways that we get to do that this semester. So, so here in a little bit, what I'm going to have is I'm actually going to have Matt Zolman, I'm going to have Carissa, my wife, come up here. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to do a little interview. All right, I'm going to interview them. I'm going to ask them some questions because I know a lot of times what happens is we'll kind of be up here and we'll talk about what does it mean to pursue Jesus, right? And in theory, a lot of this stuff sounds good, right? Like, well, it sounds good to pray. It sounds good to be in small groups. It sounds good to read your Bible. Like, but what does that look like? What does that actually mean? So I'm actually going to interview them. I'm going to ask them some questions. And it's just going to be real practical. It's going to be a real practical chance for you. That you get to hear from somebody other than me on what does it look like to pursue Jesus. And these are people that are doing it. Not that your other small group leaders aren't doing it. It's just these are people that we're going to have come up, and we're going to ask them some questions. So I'm going to actually, without further ado, I'm going to have Matt and Carissa come on up, and then we will get going with that. So let's go ahead and give them a round of applause. All right, so I'm going to go ahead just so they get to know you. I know you guys pretty well, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you a few questions and just tell us a little bit about yourself. And so tell us your name, what small group you lead. Give them a little shout out, and then just something you enjoy, just something like a hobby you have or something that's fun. So I'll go ahead and start with Carissa.
I'm Carissa. I don't remember what he asked me to share, but I lead the best small group, right?
That's right.
Yep. And something fun about me, I love my daughter. And I love cooking.
My name's Matt. I've blessed the opportunity to be the senior guys small group leader. I guess recently and stuff, I've kind of really got into cornhole a lot this summer. I'd like to get my skills and good enough and stuff. I'd like to start throwing on. I like to make ESPN sometimes. I'd like to do, but yeah, that's kind of a hobby. Is what I do in spare time. So.
Matt's really good at cornhole. One time we hung out and he beat me like 21 to 2? He's like really good. So I'm gonna brag on him a little bit. But so can you guys hear us okay without a mic?
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask you guys just a couple of questions about what does it look like to pursue Jesus in a couple different ways. So we talk about pursuing Jesus on purpose, right? Like not doing it on accident. How does that look for you guys? Like you guys both have jobs, you guys have families, that kind of thing. You have hobbies. You guys are busy. What does that look like for you? How do you guys pursue Jesus on purpose? What does that look like for you, Chris?
Sure. Okay, so he sent me these questions earlier today, and I was thinking about it. I grew up as a pastor's kid, grew up in the church, and so obviously I could give you the churchy answer, and I think a lot of us could probably give those same answers. So kind of setting that aside, I think I narrowed down like 3 specific ways to pursue Jesus on a daily basis. One of them, and it works for me, and it doesn't have to for you, but I just commit to only listening to Christian music in the morning. And it's not because I think it's spiritual or it's a thing that you should do, but I think it just kind of sets the precedence for truth and who Jesus is, and I think the more that I pursue leaning into who he is, it speaks into my life of who he believes I am. And it just sets a positive trajectory for the day. Another thing that Aaron already talked about was serving. So I found that a ton of growth comes from putting yourself out there and serving and loving, and then that kind of builds community, and you find other people who are walking similar paths, maybe not always the same, but you learn more about your own faith and you learn how to own it in that way too. And then the last thing that I would say that's super critical, especially in 2020, even though it's not 2020 anymore, we're bombarded with information all the time. And I think something that's super, super powerful in pursuing Jesus is looking for the truth in the things that we read. So not just reading something and taking it at face value, but really determining, hey, what does Christ have to say about this? Because as you lean into what is the truth in that situation, you inherently then pursue Jesus, and your outlook and your worldview changes as a result of what is true versus what can I set aside as garbage, really.
Nice. Yeah, the second Chris's point on the truth and stuff, everything that's going on with just the culture and COVID and all this is trying to seek out truth in that and do it in a godly way and be able to share that with others. I think is really a great way. I don't know if you guys had any, conflicts with people you work with, or other schoolmates, or family, stuff, people that you have to be around based on your circumstances. And I have a person that I work with right now that started back in just after my dad died in March, and it was he was kind of given the job, didn't have a chance for to interview him or anything. We need to fill that position, but I was with my dad this last few days and stuff, so when I come back and everything, our first conversation we had, I just asked him a question about moving some product on the shelf and stuff, and I was treated very badly. I was disrespected, felt like that, he didn't value my experience or, anything like that. So that's how we got off to a starting relationship. And thankfully, I didn't say much. I just took it all in and stuff like that. But I've been working on now. I got to sit down and do an employee review of this person here next week. And through this process, I just how would Jesus treat this individual? And so I've kind of been trying to pursue how Jesus would handle this situation, through how he treated people, in the Bible and stuff, the way that he confronted people that he disagreed with, or people, just the way he treated people. I think, if you're having conflicts and stuff, I think that's a great way to do that, is just try to find a parable, or try to find a teaching in the Gospels that kind of relates to what the difficulties you might be going through, and just, kind of use that to pursue Jesus, and then hopefully act on that with the individual or individuals that you're having conflict with.
So you mean to tell me that after high school, there's still people that are hard to get along with? That's still happening?
Yeah. It's our pride and stuff. We take pride in what we do and things that we're good at, our jobs, or our sports, or other activities that we do. We take pride in doing them, but sometimes that gets in the way of the bigger picture and how we're supposed to be God-minded and God-like, and how we're supposed to be representatives of Christ.
Yeah. So kind of what I hear you guys saying is pursuing Jesus practically on a day-to-day basis is, how do I love the person in front of me, and how do I make the decision to put Christ first, like maybe listening to Christian music at the beginning of the day, or start my day off right. So that's kind of how these guys pursue Jesus, kind of on purpose. And one other thing before we get into the last two things, this is how these guys do it. That doesn't mean you have to take what they said and apply it straight to your life, but these are people who are doing it right. Your small group leaders are doing it right. We have some awesome small group leaders. So I just, really pay attention to what they do. Nobody in here is perfect. Nobody would claim to be perfect. But they are making a decision to say, I'm going to pursue Jesus on purpose, and this is what it looks like. So the next thing we want to kind of talk about is shift gears a little bit. What are some ways that you've seen God work in you as you pursue Him? How does it kind of help you? You guys have already answered this, but how does it help you in the day-to-day? How have you seen your walk with God grow as you pursue Him? Yeah.
Well, I'll have to start the March 16th when my dad was taken into hospice. It seems like a lot of times we pursue Jesus the hardest when we're going through difficult times, even though he's pursuing him all the time. But March 16th, that Monday, when they took him into hospice, and of course, it's not good news when a loved one goes into hospice. But that was the day that they announced that they were going to do the lockdown to, flatten the curve. And I didn't realize it at that time, but there was talk about, I'm not going to be able to see him and stuff like that. And my wonderful small group sent me a video that was just wonderful. Their support what I was going through, and but as I look back now, as we've been, COVID's been here a few months and stuff. As I look back of, how I was going through that difficult time losing my dad, but how blessed I was that I didn't have to go through not being able to see him when he was sick. You know, because they were just starting the lockdowns and stuff that week, and then how it was a blessing to actually see him pass away at that particular time, and not a few days or months later where I wouldn't be able to got to see him, spend any time with him and stuff. And how God can take something that, you know, is terrible and stuff, but actually turn it into, you know, positive. I mean, Romans 8:28 is that relates to that example. And I think now that's answers your question directly, but that's how I felt the impact of you know pursuing him, and like I said, I didn't really realize that blessing here till probably Thanksgiving time period. How it was a blessing that he passed away when he did.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm naturally just a person who tends to worry or be anxious. And Aaron and I got married pretty young, and we walked through some really, really hard things together early on in our marriage. And one of the things that we walked through, I'm type 1 diabetic, so I have to have insulin in order to live. And the insulin that was prescribed to me cost more than our rent did. And we had nothing. Aaron was still in college, but we just prayed that the Lord would bring a miracle, and he did over and over and over again. And that's just one example of God's faithfulness. But now, day to day, it's reminding myself of the truth of the reality of who God is and was in those moments, to say, hey, this is really hard, but look how the Lord was faithful in a circumstance where you literally could have passed away because you didn't have medication you needed. Or that's just one. Like, we have story after story after story of not just God's faithfulness, his provision, his kindness, the ways that he was gracious, but honestly, he didn't have to be. And so, like I said before, it's that reminding of who is Jesus, what is the truth about who he is as a person and our Savior, and then how does that affect me from day to day? And I would say that I worry less about things because there's just peace in knowing that he's already won the victory for us in so many ways. But yeah.
No, that's good. So, yeah, you guys talked a little bit, and both of you guys talked about really seeing how God worked in a really difficult time, and that's, I think, what Matt said. Sometimes we pursue God. I think that's when we want to pursue God the most, is when things are difficult, and that's when it's the easiest to pursue Him. But and I imagine some of you guys are probably going through hard things too. So just remember that. Know, like, God, like, they're on the other, like, you know, Matt, you're still kind of going through the grieving process of your dad and kind of thinking through that. But you're removed from that. Carissa, like the story with your diabetes and the insulin issues in our first year of marriage was like, we're on the other side of those things. Some of you guys are still in the middle of that. Just think, like, what am I going to say about, like, if I'm in the darkest part, what am I going to say about God's faithfulness on the other side? And look for God's faithfulness in the middle and pursue that. So the last thing is this. Give us a picture of just kind of how you pursue God with others. Is it weird? Like, is it weird to, like, initiate a relationship with somebody else and say, hey, let's pursue God together? Like, how did that start? Like, talk us a little bit about how you pursue God with other people.
Okay. Well, we're married. So we pursue Jesus together. But also with some of my greatest friends too. It's just the power of prayer. Specifically with Aaron, like, there's been times where I've shared, like, how I'm feeling or how I'm hurt, and he's like, oh, I prayed for you in that way, without knowing some of the hurts that I had. So the Lord bringing unity between the two of us is really cool, and I don't think it's awkward that we are married, but in the same way, though, some of my greatest friends, it's just this group message that we have of, hey, my husband's dad is going through this, or my family is having a hard situation with whatever. one friend is on a mountaintop and maybe another is in a valley. And that they're willing to come down from that mountaintop to walk that valley with you. And when you know that they are committing to pray for you, you're so willing to also commit to pray and intercede on their behalf. So I wouldn't say it's awkward, but you do have to grow in that too, because it doesn't naturally just click right away.
Yeah, I got hooked up on a Saturday morning Bible study here at the church, and I'm probably one of the younger guys there. So I think just seeking out wisdom, to have a mentor or somebody that's older in your life that can help you grow spiritually, I think it's super important, or a group of people. Another thing too, I mean, you guys are, you're on the front lines out there, at school and in life and stuff, and I just hope and pray that you guys support each other, in your groups. I hope that you guys, throughout the week, contact each other, encourage each other with a text, follow up with each other, how you guys are doing. It's just so important to get that support and stuff, because, you guys, you're going through different things at different times and stuff, and maybe somebody's already been through that, or it's just the support, and I just hope that you guys, grow together as a group and stuff. And then for the seniors, I'm hoping that we'll stay in contact and stuff, and I hope that they do as well, to continue to encourage each other as they go to colleges and go different places and stuff. I just think that's just super important. It's just have some mentorship, somebody can show you wisdom, and then just encourage each other and lift each other up.
All right, thanks guys for coming up here. That's all